Welcome guys to episode 34. My name is DasTactic. Welcome to the channel. Hope you've been enjoying the series so far. Again, a special thank you to my Patreon supporters and anybody else that has supported me through merchandise or any the other bits and pieces that I've sort of got in the description down below. Also, there has been another update at time of recording. Now, I'm probably a month ahead of where the actual uploads are at this point in time, so I'm still pre-Christmas doing these recordings. There has been a new update. It's 50.04 has actually now been released, and I'm guessing by the time you're watching this, probably could be another one or two actually have been released already as well. And there is an important change in there. I will just go through two big important changes actually. One is you can now step through, if you're in a fight and you just want to do a little bit at a time, which is what the game used to actually have, you can now use the period key or the full stop key to just go step, 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 and that's really quite useful if you're trying to nuance and just to see exactly what's going on in a fight. So we will start to do that a lot in the game when there's something of major interest. It is quite fun. Now the other big change is actually in the burrows. You can see we've got a heap more people in through here. You can now go to burrows, and before, when we had to assign people, we had to go through and scroll through and see, okay, who's missing, and start to click them in this way. But there's now a new bar at the top in through here where we can then go and add in civilians, like add in all the civilians. So we can just do that, bang, they've all been allocated, so they're actually all in there. Now there's a few that aren't there yet because Sodal is probably one of our soldiers. So if we go and click all the soldiers, yep, so that then picks him up as well. So that's how we can then sort of make sure that we've got everyone assigned into the actual burrow. So when we do have it restricted, we don't at the moment, that's how you can do it. So that's actually just come into the game. One thing that's not great with the stepping through, to be honest, is that you can't open up, like, so for example, I think this is all over this particular fight. I think at time it's fallen over. So you've got a bug bat there, and you've got a cave crocodile down through here. Now, if I go and just select this one here, I don't think we'll sort of see it move as such. It's on that level, isn't it? So if I start to press the full stop key, there it goes. It is actually working just bit by bit. So I'm just pushing full stop. You can probably hear me pressing it. And so it's just going to take a lot of ticks before it then goes to the next step. When you've got it down very, very low, you actually see it go from pause through to here. One thing it doesn't do, if I actually open this up, so I can actually then have a look to see what's going on, and particularly if I'm opening this one up, to sort of try to see what's going on here, it doesn't work. And so it doesn't step through. It doesn't matter how many times I do this, it just won't do anything. So that's a shame. It would have been great if you could have stepped through while having this open. That would have been awesomely good. Here it goes. Actually, I'll just pause that. So it was actually charging off. I think it's running away. Yeah, it's moving away from that particular zone. Anyway, I thought I'd just show that one. Just go back to where we were. Another thing too, while we're doing announcements, why not? I'll spend a few minutes to just go through some things. Yeah, I created this yesterday, actually. I finished it off yesterday. Actually, I think I built the whole thing yesterday. Anyway, it might have been the day before. So it's been out now for a little while. If you've been watching any of my YouTube shorts, you'll sort of see it in through there as well. I've actually have been uploading to shorts, by the way. So look out there. I'm mainly using my live stream content when there's something that's really interesting, that's fairly compressed in time. I'm just sort of putting those together. So they've been fun to put together. They don't generate any income, unfortunately, I don't think. But they can actually bring more people in to watch your content. So that's sort of the reasoning behind doing that, I think. Anyway, this little flaming, it's my normal flaming jester style, but done with the DWARF Fortress logo in it, and it looks a little bit like me with the grey beard and but I just don't have the flaming hair. Oh, and this I've put this one as a reminder for myself to talk about. By the time you're watching this, there's a very good chance that I've actually already got my ass together and actually built myself some merchandising, probably a t-shirt design and maybe a poster of the various illustrations that I've been doing for the thumbnails. And so I don't know whether I should wait until I've got all of them, but I've got a lot built already even at time of recording, and so certainly got enough to put together and make something out of all of those. And so I'd be very surprised if you go to shop.dastactic.com, or if you go to coffee, K-O-F-I, Ko-fi, God, I wish it was just simple, .com/DasTactic. Either of those, there should be something in one of those two locations, I would think, if you are interested. I know a lot of you have been very kind with your comments about those thumbnails. They're a lot of fun to do on my behalf. I really do enjoy it. They do take a fair bit of time, like more time than I really wanted. I was hoping to find a way I could do them where they're going to take about 10 minutes each to do them, but they're taking, well, it could be worse. They're taking up to around about half an hour each one of them. So almost the time it takes me to record an episode, I've got to then put the same amount of time in just to do the thumbnail. So it is quite time consuming, unfortunately, but I do enjoy it. So that's fortunate. It's a double-edged sword. It means I've got less time for doing stuff. So anyway, it is what it is. Anyway, I'll go and get rid of that the flaming dwarf's head, and of course you can sort of see it way up in the top corner, way up over there. It's just as my watermark that I've actually sort of just putting in for these Dwarf Fortress playthroughs. That's the little symbol there. All right, we're going to be looking at. In episode 32, before we got interrupted with the goblin thieves and the child snatching and all of that horrible stuff that went on in the last episode, things that we frown upon. Before all that actually happened, we were looking at the hospital zones and building things up there with the soap and plaster. Part of that one we then had to build like a wood furnace and then a kiln, so we could actually get the gypsum plaster made, so we can actually start to make plaster casts for people's arms, and we also then had the soap maker and the ashery to make the lye for the soap. So fairly intricate. Now in this episode we're going to be looking at metal and how we can sort of then make the most out of metal mining and so on and so forth, or not metal mining but actual metal, making metal objects. So I'm just going to channel out a little bit more because it's actually more in line with this side of things back over through here. I'm going to do two if I can do it. I'm going to do a magma after. I'm going to do the magma after we do this particular one in through here. So I'm just going to go across, just channel out a bit more in through this side. We need to have another one there, and we'll actually just go and grab a little bit more off this other side. Okay, so I'll just let that one go. So the process of starting your own metal industry, and we really should have done this earlier than what we have through here, because if I go up one level, I've then been storing my metal in through here. So if we just go to the stockpile and look at the custom, it's a stone stockpile, but just set for metal ores and economic at this stage as well. Now, I'll probably end up with a metal area somewhere else in the fortress. I'll probably just get rid of the stuff once we actually get the magma forges going, because they don't take any fuel, and whereas these initial ones do take fuel. So anyway, I've got the metal mines in through, the metal ores being stored in through that side, and we can sort of see them in through this side. By the way, I will just do a little bit of a diversion away from what we're currently doing. If you go and click on the different ores, you can see that we've got the gypsum in through this side. Hang on, I'll just go and click on that one through there. And so this is gypsum. It makes plaster powder, can make furniture, and you can use it for building. So there's the different uses. This is so good. Actually, this was not part of what the original game actually, or the old game actually had. So it just tells you what they can actually be used for. You know, the different types of things. It's very, very cool, actually, with what, you know, now that it goes through the actual uses. But same with ores, and ores is quite a tricky prospect, and so I will talk a little bit about ore before we go into the actual smelting process. Now we've got a whole heap of galena. You can sort of see, actually we've got tetrahedrite there as well. Looks very similar. So we've got a fair bit of galena, we've got a fair bit of tetrahedrite there. So if we click on galena, let's start here. So galena is an ore of silver 50% of the time, and an ore of lead. So you're getting lead and you're getting a little bit of silver from it as well. Now they're two minerals or two ores that we actually can make good use of for different sorts of things. I'll just go very quickly what these are actually good for. So the silver is good for heavy armor, sorry, not heavy armor, heavy weaponry, blunt weaponry, not sharp weaponry. You will sort of see in the game often silver swords and silver battle axes. Don't make them yourself. They're useless, or not useless, but they're just basically, silver is a soft metal, but not super soft, but soft enough to not be good for sharp weaponry. And the game does model all this, by the way. Like it's important, but it's also a heavy one. So it's very good for warhammers. So getting silver warhammers and silver maces are great. Now they do different types of damage. I'm a bit unsure as to whether to err on the side of doing crush damage against the undead, or doing sharp damage against the undead, where you actually end up chopping off their heads. Once you chop off an undead head, it then dies, but if you chop the pieces off, you run the risk of a necromancer animating those pieces. So I tend to go for crush damage, where you don't have pieces flying off the victim. God, it's gruesome, isn't it? What a gruesome game. But I tend to err that way. But I sort of feel to a large extent for run-of-the-mill fights, and particularly for where we are here, where we're not in a haunted biome or anything. In a haunted biome, I would definitely be going with warhammers or maces. Probably maces more than warhammers. Maces have got more crush damage than the warhammers have got. So I think the warhammers are faster to use, but the maces do sort of more damage, I think, across time. So they're similar, but it's not. It's only we're talking small percentages anyway. I won't get caught up in this, otherwise we'll be talking about this forever. So anyway, silver for warhammers and maces, not for armor, not for anything else really, except maybe you can use it for, if you don't have gold, it's a good ore for then making crafts and things like that, if you're wanting to sort of then do some high level trading. If you've got gold, then use gold for that. But I don't know if we've got gold in the fortress. I think I've seen it, but I'm not sure. Ore of lead. Now, lead is another one where you can't make weaponry or armor out of lead because it's just too soft. But it's awesome for other things. Like you can make, for example, I make coffins out of lead. When I've got like a lot of lead in the fortress, and you tend to have a lot of lead, you can make doors out of lead, you can make coffins out of lead, you can make chains out of lead, even though it's super soft and you wouldn't be able to do that in reality. You can actually make chains, and so I tend to end up making a lot of chains out of the lead. Also, another thing, if you want to weaponize mine carts, because lead is so heavy, you can actually then make lead mine carts that really can do a lot of damage if they smash into the enemy. But just be careful, because if your dwarves are in the way of a lead mine cart, they can do a lot of damage to your dwarves as well. You can end up with a lot of problems if you do it that way. But the weight of the lead can be used in that sort of instance. All right, that's lead. Then we go to tetrahedrite. Now, tetrahedrite is actually this is silver and copper, so you can get a small amount of silver and a fair bit of copper in through here as well. Copper is third in terms of sort of like your basic minerals, and I'm putting in an alloy, like, well, not really an alloy, but I'm putting steel at the number one. Steel is your best sharp one, other than getting adamantine type weaponry, and actually even adamantine is more for use for armor. But this one here, steel is your top for the battle axes and so on and so forth. The next level down is iron, and then the next level down is copper. Now, if you had a scale of how they sort of relate, you'd have steel up the top here, you'd have iron about here, you'd have copper about here. They're all very, very compressed towards the top. Then you'd start to have your silver and stuff down around here somewhere. So copper is still very, very valuable and very, very cool. Copper can be used also for, if you don't have iron, then go for copper, and you can use that also for your armor. It's not quite as good as iron, but it's still good. It's like you often sort of think, oh, if I won't bother with copper because I've got the small amount of iron, I'll just use iron. But this copper is good for that. So that's out of tetrahedrite, and you get a little bit more silver in through there as well. Other ores that we actually have in through here, we actually just have copper nuggets, which just give us copper. And then we have this one over through here, the hematite. And so hematite is an ore of iron. And so this is how we can then make iron. Now, I won't go through in this episode how to make steel. Steel is a bit more complex again, and so we won't do that here. But that's another whole other process to sort of then take the iron and then refine it into steel. But again, it's the differences between iron and steel. There is a difference. It is better to have steel, but iron is still very, very good. And so I tend to reserve iron. Well, one thing you can only build out of iron or steel is anvils. And so if we end up with a bigger industry, we're going to need to first of all make anvils, and let's make that the example that we do today. So we'll do that one. So they're the different minerals that we have, and just click on them to see what they actually make. But they do all have different uses. So iron and steel for your and copper for your sharpened implements, so battle axes, which are used by the carpenters or the woodcutters, and then the silver for more of the blunt weaponry is sort of the way I would tend to err with both of those. All right, let's go back up. No, down. Down to here. And so we're going to set up, now in the last, well, not the last episode, the episode before last, we had set up a wood burner and wood furnace, and it's making charcoal for the kiln, and also ash for the ashery to then make soap. So charcoal is our fuel, not wood. So when you see something requiring fuel, it requires charcoal. So charcoal or coal. This is two different ways you can sort of process different things. Coal comes from a mineral, which is then processed a different way, and charcoal is the easy one, just by processing that if you've got lots of wood. Which we do, and we should be bringing them back inside. So what we need to do is to make a, I won't work in reverse, which is sort of, I thought that might be the easiest way to do it last time, but I think I'll just go forward. Like we've already now got, essentially the kiln is a smelter, but this is a smelter for clay. It still needs the charcoal, so it's actually got gypsum plaster has been sort of made into here. It's got the granite, so it's not actually burning anything at this point in time. It actually does have finished product that it's actually got through there, and it's still got more that it wants to be then going and building if it can. Let's go across now and go to our workshops and into here. So building a workshop, it's still considered a furnace. So when we click on the furnaces, we just go across. Now remember last time, or two episodes ago, everything that's got a magma version, like magma blast furnace, there will be a standard furnace. The difference here is that magma fuels this one, whereas the glass furnace is fueled by fuel, which is charcoal, basically, is what it requires. The kiln, you've got the magma kiln, you've got the smelter and the magma smelter. We want to have a smelter, is the one that we actually want to have to convert the ore into bars. And so we go this way to start with, so we'll just go and place one of these into here. And we'll just make this one out of granite. All right, so that'll be the first one that we get built. Actually, while that's building, what I will do is I'll just go back across and build the forge as well. So we need a smelter to make the bars, and we need a forge to then make the items. That you need both. And so if we just go across into our workshops again, you'll see that these are outside of the furnace area, even though they're super closely related to them. And so if we go to the metalsmith, not the magma forge, again, it's the same workshop, but one is driven by magma and one of them is just driven by fuel or charcoal. So let's go that way and just place that one down into here. And it requires an iron anvil. That's why when you first come to a fortress, usually you're going to come with an iron anvil. And so always make sure that you're making good use of that. So you go and grab that one in there. And we just need some other material to build this with. So I'll just get those two built. All right, we're nearly done in here. Okay, so this one is now active and ready to go. So we're now going to add a new task in to make turn we need to make iron, basically. Now, there's a few different things we can do here. I want to talk a little bit about this one. You can actually make ores. It's not ores. You can make alloys, where you actually combine different metals to then make bars that they can be used in different ways. So there's heaps of different things you can do here, like bronze. There's your steel there. So you do need flux stones to make steel, but we won't be doing that in this episode. Another thing that's really quite important, and this is something that you can really sort of get into, particularly where we are with so many things outside the fortress that we can pick up. And also if you do get invaded, and if you can sort of, I don't want to just atom smash all of the goblins and things that come, because they're wearing all this equipment that we can actually melt down and remake into stuff that we want. And when you actually have an invasion and you then use the metals that they bring in their armor, that's called goblinite in the game. Like, so if you hear the word goblinite, you're talking about metal that you're getting from siege equipment that has where the invading army has been trapped and stripped of their actual of their goods, and so you're then making use of that by melting that down and then repurposing it. So anyway, that's metal objects. You can do the same thing, like quite often. If you're really wanting high level stuff, like particularly if you're wanting really, really good quality armor in particular, like good quality armor is really important in the later stages of the game where you need to have your dwarves really well protected. Strange, something made a noise over there. I don't know what it was. It's not an animal or anything, so I think we're okay. Anyway, so I forgot what I was saying, but anyway, the goblinite is definitely something we can sort of melt down. Now, galena, if we start to melt that one down, we're going to get lots of lead and silver. If we melt down hematite, we're going to then get iron. So let's just go and melt a couple of these. Let's just go and melt a couple of these. Now again, we can set this up as an actual workshop area. I will do that one, but I'll probably do that when I'm not recording it. So what we'll do is we'll watch somebody come in and pick this one up. By the way, I've got diplomacy and all sorts of things going on. I'll come back to that in just a minute. So if we have a look and see what's been coming in, the workshop itself is made of granite. They've left the hematite through there, goes across and then grabs the charcoal and then starts to forge the hematite. Now it's going to get like a number of different bars that will be made. It's a bit random as to how many it will actually then make. So let's just see what it ends up getting. There we go, we've got 4 iron bars. That's good, that's a good result. And so we've got the 4 iron bars. Now they're going to be taken away. You can see they've already been tasked for delivery somewhere else. Now that we've got those iron bars, we can now come across to our metalsmith forge, and we can then just go and you can see that the metalsmith forge has got the anvil that we put into it originally plus the granite. So these are not what it actually has there. We then just go and add a new task, and let's in this case, just to sort of get expediency through this one, because I'll be doing a full military one at some point, I'm just going to go and I want to create more of these downstairs when I start to sort of then build a more of the like the metal forges. And so we are still going to need iron anvils. So we'll just go into other objects, iron, and then iron anvil. And so we'll just go and add that one in there. Now it may not like it at the start. Let's just leave it open so we can sort of see what that does go on in this particular instance. So we'll see what they do. And we may end up with another... Oops, where are we? Oh, that's good. He's now, look what he's done. He's brought the 3 iron bars have now been brought across into this area, going across to now go and get some charcoal. Got the charcoal. We'll now start to forge this. Good. We'll get through this one fairly early. In the meantime, there's still sort of smelting everything else as well. And there we go. We've got our iron anvil has now been built, which we can now make use of. So that is the essence of getting your metal industry up and running. Again, if we go into the metalsmith forge, we can then start to sort of pick and choose what we want. So for example, if we do end up with a lot of lead, and we will ultimately end up with that. Now I don't want to have this operating too much. I'll probably end up disassembling this for the simple reason that once I get a magma forge set up, I'll be okay. Now let's, but again, you've got your weapons and ammunition. You can see there that you do actually have access to iron, silver, copper, bronze and steel, bismuth, bronze, adamantine, translucent metals, rusted metals, clear blue metal, all sorts of weird and wonderful things. You never ever use those bottom ones, well I don't. But you can sort of like down to adamantine is usually sort of what you're going to be doing on a regular basis. So you've got a very limited selection for your weapons. If we go across again and just have a quick look, add new task and go to armor, iron, copper, bronze, steel, bismuth, bronze, adamantine again. So the same sort of collection. One thing missing from this one is silver. You cannot make silver armor because of the softness of it. So just be aware of that. We go back in again and go to add new task. You then got furniture. So you pretty much got anything out of this one. You can see we've now got nickel and zinc and brass, platinum, electrum, tin. You can make pretty much anything out of this. So that's another one in through there. I'll show you some of the other useful ones. If we go, we've got siege equipment through there. Now that's going to be, again, if you go to iron, you've just got ballista, arrowheads, things like this. That's not all that useful. I should just go to the useful ones. Siege equipment, trap components, again, I won't worry about those. Other objects, this is an interesting one where you can sort of go through, and let's just say that we go to lead. And do we have lead? There it is, lead down through here. This is the one I do like to actually have, is to go to lead. And then you've got a few different things that you can build out of this one through here. So you've got, for example, lead mine carts are great because of the weight of the lead. You can also make chains as well. So now if you're trying to find something in particular, and I am trying to find chain, because lead chains is a good way to just get rid of your lead a little bit. And that can make traction benches for your hospital, just to sort of tie that back into the whole hospital type thing. If we just go back across, add new task, and just do a search for chain. It's just not there, is it? It's not going to do it there. That's weird. Okay, and it's not doing it. It should be in there. I'm not sure why it's not there. Anyway, that's chain can be done. I'm unsure as to why that's not actually showing up. You've got metal clothing as well. Like you've got actual clothing. Again, would you ever use it? Maybe you'd make adamantine stuff. if you had to, just for a high-ranking noble to help protect them, because it is still armor, and adamantine is very, very good armor. And so that's sort of where you've got your basics and your metals. I'm not sure why the chains aren't there. That really surprises me. Really surprises me, to be honest. So anyway, that's where we are with all of those. We'll now go into, let's just do this stuff. We've got the diplomacy. We've got actually what's happened here is a head treasurer from Exthabath has actually arrived at the fortress. We can go and see them. That'll just be where they came into on the map. And then we have diplomacy with them. So the broker Udib Kilavel meets with the human head treasurer Resmi Tekwaqui. Resmi says, on behalf of the Merchants Guild, let me extend greetings to your people. There is much to discuss. We just click on OK. And so information has now been added to the civilizations and world information. So we can get good information there. It's hard to delve into what you do and don't know initially, but eventually that will really get fleshed out with all this sort of information. We can now make requests for next year's caravan. And so we can actually say, okay, well, similar to what we do with our guys, we can sort of say, okay, well, what do we actually want? And probably we don't need much from these guys. Really the important things like getting the plaster powder. Normally I'd be asking them to bring that sort of stuff, but we don't need that. One thing I might grab is cloth. So we just get sheep wool cloth, even though we've sort of got like a bit of an industry with that one ourselves. But we get a little bit in through there. And that'll be about it, really. We don't need a lot. Even if we go to seeds, none of it's going to be our type of seeds. They're all going to be above ground seeds. And we don't need them at this location. This location is fantastic for seeds. So we are actually pretty damn good, actually, with everything we've got. So I can't see this being a drinks. We're getting on top of this as well at this point in time. We're getting through it. We are getting through it. Got plants, garden vegetables, stone, cages. Pets maybe. Where's the pets? Like to bring a boar would be very, very handy. There it is, pets. And so if we go to boars, so we've got the ram, and actually we needed some ewes, so we'll ask for some ewes and we'll ask for some boars. That does equate, I think. It's a bit hard to sort of line them up. That'll do. It should just come done. And so they're going to cost more. That doesn't matter. Just click on OK. And so it says basically the need for rings is expected, and if you're able to provide some, the caravan will offer 208%. That's good as well. We are making rings, or we've been making a lot of rings. I'll just go back across, and there we are with that one. Let's just go and do the trading now. Now I did move my head up a little bit. Oh, sorry about that. I've had it down low, and I've been covering the trade area. So in that corner, just right down there, we'll now start to be able to sort of see it a little bit. I hope. We'll find out. So they've actually now arrived. We'll just get rid of that one, get rid of that one. That one's okay, that one's okay. A lot of stuff here. I will have to go through this at some point just to sort of try to fix up why we're getting those petitions. Never, ever, ever get an entertainer, basically, unless you really are struggling with unhappiness and they happen to love the person that's entertaining them. But other than that, it's just going to cause more issues than good. Back up to the top. So we'll just go back up to this area, and we'll just go and start to sort of then trade with the humans. So what we'll do is we'll just go back across, move goods to and fro. We will move in. Now, how are we going for time? Oh, we're half an hour in. I think I'll just rattle through this one and then we'll come back, and I won't bother recording this. Actually, by the way, with the trading, it can be a good thing to get rid of your old clothing if you're wanting to do that. So you can see with the X, it means it's been worn. So this is pre-loved. It's pre-loved clothing. We can just offload this. So as our cloth industry is sort of coming up, the dwarves are coming back in and swapping things into where they picked them up from. So I'm just going to throw all these things away, or trade for them, and then just get back up what we did actually want. Anyway, I'll just continue on through, and I think you can see enough now down below about what's going on with the trade. So sorry about that. In the past, I've actually had that one covered. Just going through, I'm reserving I'm not just trading any rings this season, because next season that's going to be where they sort of kick in. So we're down to, like, this is a bit of a 50-50 guess, but if I can get that to the green, like one more and it then goes to green, so they pretty much will trade with the green like that. So that will be their profit, 461, which is good. Do the trade. So wonderful, thank you for your business, that's great. So we pick up a few different creatures. Actually, I wouldn't mind that, to be honest. And I'll get that one as well. I thought I'd got the dogs as well. The hen I don't need. I've certainly got more than enough of that. Actually, I didn't have a look to see what other things there were. Oh, this is all the stuff that we just traded for them. Okay, we don't need to buy that stuff back off them, but we'll grab that one as well. So I'll just go back through again and just finish off the trade. Okay, so with that done, now let's delve down and find the magma, and then we can start to at least set up the other forges. I know that this is going to be a fairly long episode, I guess, by the time we actually do this. Again, it's a very important aspect of the fortress to set up these forges and smelters and things, and it's much, much easier with the magma, particularly if it's close to the surface. Now, as a quick recap, we ended up actually building down into here, just freakily stopping just before we actually hit this cavern layer, so that was extremely lucky. And so we then moved across and then started to dig down through this side before we eventually found the cavern layer through here. We were then given a message, if you remember, where there was some gems and things. Now I've got that one collected in through there, but we found gems in through obsidian wall. Now, as soon as you find obsidian means that there's lava encrusted in it. And so if I dug through the obsidian, in fact, if I just go and do this one, you'll see there's water on this obsidian. Now, I don't know where the water's coming from. That's got me a little bit freaked out because I don't know where that's coming from. But there is some heat there, and there's some heat over this side, and we can sort of triangulate to think, okay, if that's hot rock and that's hot rock, it makes sense that this would be a magma core, like a basilisk is sort of like a bubble of magma that's coming towards the surface. And in fact, if we go and have a look at this one, the game models incredible things. I'm assuming that we'll find a mountain, potentially. Actually, no, it's all flat, isn't it, up above? No, so don't worry about that. I know that this area doesn't have the mountains. But anyway, this as we come up the next level, we've got more heat back in through here, more obsidian walls in through this side, and so we're finding more and more stuff. Now, we don't know exactly where that other one finishes, and if we go up one more, there's a chance we're going to find the magma on this level, and this is the same level if you look at the mini map where we've got all this stuff. So I'm just going to go to the middle, or even probably the far end of where we're starting to get these heat signature things, and as we come back down, so it looks like it's around here is where we're going to sort of find the middle of some. This is one layer down, one layer up, one layer down, one layer up. So we're just going back and forwards trying to triangulate where, like that through there again as well. So this looks to be about the right area, and I'm looking at the mini map. I'm just keeping my cursor back over here. That's where my mini map is. Let's just go and dig across, and then we'll just move back down from here and just start to dig our way towards where the magma might be. Now, we should find it, I hope. By doing this, I'm half assuming we're going to actually hit the core here. We'll just keep on going up until we find what we're looking for. So I'm just trying to sort of then just mine in. Anyway, I'll pause this until that's all been dug out. Oh no, here we go. We've got a forgotten beast. This is Iquila Gatho has come, an enormous one-eyed nightjar. Now that's a flying unit, I think, in this case. So it has two short horns, and it has a bloated body. Its eyes glow scarlet. Its copper feathers are long and sparse. Beware its webs. Oh, wow. This is really quite an interesting one. Let's just go and click on OK and then just quickly pause and just go and have a look and see where this one actually is. So it's going to be a web-spinning flying creature. Almost like the Monty Python's Jabberwocky is sort of what comes to mind with what we actually have through here. Now, it's on the bottom layer. That's actually not a flying thing, is it at all? A nightjar. Isn't a nightjar a something else? Something completely. It is tough, but it is injured. So what is the injury that it actually has? Its left foot is cut open. Its left wing is. It does have wings. Okay, so it does have wings. I'm not sure if that's what the wings are at the back through there. Anyway, that's where it is. An enormous one-eyed nightjar. Has two short horns and its bloated body. Interesting. Okay, so anyway, that'll be probably for next session. Oh, there we go. There's actually a Crundle skeleton underneath there. A bit of Crundle blood as well. We're not seeing any other of its bleeding. So it has now wandered in off the side of where we actually are. Now this is actually in the bottom cavern, and there's no access that we know of. There may actually be a way off like we haven't seen this part of the map. Now, do we get to see? Yeah, there's this area through here. This is the one area we're going to be a little bit careful of. If we have a bit of a look at this one here, see how it goes up and down at this point. So it goes. There's actually a way up from there. So if we just turn these on, it goes down here, but it goes up, and then it goes up to there, up to there, up to there, across there. Now we're in a cavern, and we don't get to see a lot of this, so a lot of this then disappears. And so it's going up, it then goes back up this way, across into here. Now we did actually have the bug bat that we were looking at before. I think we were looking at that before. I was certainly looking at it. I may not have been recording this. Up, and then continue on up until we get to this other cavern layer. So this here is a connection back into the cavern layers, and then continues on, and then sort of reaches out at this particular point into the middle cavern, so that it connects the middle cavern in through this particular side. Again, we don't sort of see too much. Now, that's pretty close to where our stuff actually is, which is over here somewhere, I think. Where's our stuff? There it is. There's our entrance. So as we go back down again, we then sort of end up with this one. But at this point in time, I don't need to worry about what's going on. Let's just go and see if we can find this magma. And here we go. We've actually now got the edge of the mining through this side. You know, I've gone so far into this one now. We're 36 minutes in. I think because the magma forges are so critical, and there's some really important little traps to do with them, I will actually put them into the next episode, because they are critical to get this one right. There's some little tricks that you can do to actually make it work, and so we'll actually go through what those tricks actually are. I think we can. I'll just double. Yes, no, we can. So it's going to be a little bit of work to get those sort of established. Now we've hit the wall there. It didn't go all the way across, which is interesting, which makes it seem like there may be another area back in through this side. We could actually then just go across and try something a bit different in through there to sort of get things sort of then working. Anyway, it's not that far down from the rest of our fortress. You know, our fortress isn't that far off this when we do come back down into here. Certainly need to be down around that level anyway before we then come up into our main meeting zone. So things are sort of going to happen fairly readily, I think, once we sort of get established down in this layer. So let's leave it here for this episode, and we'll come back next episode and then talk about the magma forges.